Te reo ererangi o Te Mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
Kia ora and welcome to Emergence News. Whether you are joining us on Apple Podcasts or Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Plains Media or Substack, we welcome you to the program and we thank you for joining us. In the studio there is a triangle. There are three of us with a microphone discussing and talking spirituality and politics. And why politics? Currently here in New Zealand, and certainly in many other countries, politics is dominating the news, John.
Yes, I guess it is. And politics...
Affecting our lives dramatically.
Well, politics is the attempt by individuals to organise themselves into a coherent group, isn't it? Yeah. And the politics that appeal to you are the politics that suit your personality or your individual belief system. So I think we'll always have politics in some form or other. But unfortunately, politics and economics on this planet are too closely linked, I think. And I suspect that the political model now is based on manipulation of the economic model to satisfy political theory. And I think we're seeing that everywhere at the moment.
Materialism.
Materialism is being driven by political will, political thought, which is shaping the economics of the planet to the detriment of almost everybody and everything.
Yep. The third member of the Emergence News Triangle around the table with a microphone this morning is Peter. Good morning, Peter.
Hi there, Nigel.
The Destiny of the Nations. That was a book you read earlier this year, or last year.
Yes.
Politics, that featured in that publication, didn't it?
Yes, it does. I mean, it's...
The nations and their governing signs. The rays that influence a nation.
Oh, that's right. Each country is controlled by its own rays structure.
And John, the political landscape, even in a small Western country like New Zealand, things have changed dramatically since the 1980s.
Yes, I think 1984, the fourth Labour government under David Lange introduced neoconservative liberalism here, which basically is an extreme form of capitalism. So whether Kiwis want to acknowledge it or not, we are following an extremist political ideology. Neoconservative liberalism is splattered right across our two main political parties. It's a real shock that a Labour Party introduced an extreme form of capitalism. And catchphrases such as user pays came out in 1984, that election process. And basically the politicians started deriding and shutting down the public service, deriding and shutting down the welfare system, and threw open the gates for individual acquisition of wealth, which, you know, at face value sounds fair, but money makes money. So if you were already out of the gate with wealth and the government makes it easier to accumulate individual wealth, then you've got a head start. And so very quickly the wealthy became wealthier. New Zealand at the moment, we have about 10% of the population controls around about 70% of the nation's wealth, which is awful. But in the States, it's probably 1% controls about 50% of the nation's wealth. In fact, that number's a little bit old, so it might be even worse than that. Oxfam did a report about 10 years ago, and they believe that 8 men on this planet control about 50% of the planetary wealth. So that's what capitalism's done for us.
What are you looking at, if we've got time, what are you going to look at today regarding, speaking of politicians?
Actually Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was a high initiate. We're going to have a quick glance at him and some communications that he had with...
a 4-degree initiate.
Helena Roerich, who was a fourth-degree initiate, so was Jesus, and so was Krishnamurti. So Helena Roerich was in communication with Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was the US president at the time.
And of course, she was based in St. Petersburg in Russia.
And the date, it didn't make sense to me until I realised the date, 1934 to 36, I think. And that, of course, is the precursor to World War II. And some of the things that Roerich was saying really, now with history, really made sense.
And coming up next, Peter, what are you looking at there? You've got an article. There.
Yes, well, this unravelling the mystery of life energy, which I think is so important to discovering the reality behind materialism, which we so focus on today.
You are listening to Emergence News. Great to have your company, and Peter with the latest Share International magazine in front of him. Away you go, Peter.
Thanks very much, Nigel. This is an interview with Eric Lukoskovitz by Jason Francis for Share International. And he's a psychiatrist who's spent over 30 years studying energy healing, meditation and hypnosis. He founded and directed the Integrative Medicine Project at Spaulding Rehabilitation Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts. And he served as the hospital pain management program for 25 years. He had appointments to the Department of Psychiatry at both Harvard and Tufts University. He had an interesting start, really, because his father was involved in science. He was an immunologist, and he had a bit of a break from heading into the medical tradition by going through Asia and coming across all sorts of energy healing systems, which probably epitomised by the yoga. I've seen some amazing maps of the lines of the energy forces in yoga. Have you seen those, John?
So I do a series of yoga exercises in the morning which are designed to stimulate my meridians.
Yes.
You know, when we talked about as in the microcosm, so in the macrocosm, the body, the body of the planet has ley lines, energy lines, and so does the human body. And yoga, some yoga wants to stimulate those.
That's right. Yes,
energetic pathways.
Really. I was looking actually recently at some of the crop circles in England, and they're all on the ley lines, aren't they? They are just so incredibly intricate.
Stunning.
And, you know, to make out that people have done these things with no footprints around.
So short-sighted. Like a couple of guys with 5 pints on board have gone down in the middle of the night with a board and a piece of rope and made this stuff. It's insulting. It's insulting.
They've been dead for many years now anyway.
Same guys that have been doing it for 68 years or whatever it is.
They don't leave footprints. They're just doing it in the spirit world. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, this guy started medical school, but he learned how to meditate during transcendental meditation, which you've done, John.
For years,
yes.
Makes me what I am, Peter.
Yes.
Slightly floating in the chair at the moment.
So have another coffee.
He found that this was an eye-opener, showing your mind could really affect how your body felt and what you paid attention to. Also, this is the beginning of his understanding of the energy lying behind the physical body. And he's brought in all these various people that he's talked about in this book. It sounds like a really interesting book, and I think I will get a copy of it myself, because there's so much more to it than what we can actually cover in today. I've actually mentioned this to psychiatrists in Christchurch here, and although they express some sort of vague interest, they're locked into their old system and they can't seem to shift from it. And they're still doing shock treatment and these sort of things that everyone I speak to thinks has stopped many years ago. But no,
that's right.
It is still going, and it's still going strong. So anyway, if your body can stand 740 volts from shock treatment, I think it's doing amazingly well.
Well, actually, Benjamin Creme says
Anyway,
the physical body is so resilient, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The life energy that exists that this doctor is talking about is a great way of getting into... He's found all sorts of things that relate to the fact that behind every physical human being there is all these subtle energies which make up his spiritual reality. In fact, in our philosophy, we talk about the soul creating its vehicle by creating a matrix and a hologram, and that the devas actually create the physical body behind that matrix and that hologram that the soul has created, and it has used the three atoms, the permanent atoms that the body has and are created, and the new form, the new body, is built around this by the soul. And so this is where we're headed with this, trying to understand the energies that exist in behind our physical reality. And, of course, the real reality are these spiritual energies. And so this mystery of life energy is so very timely as far as I can see, because there are quite a few doctors now who are recognising these energies, aren't they, John? People like Brian
Hale here in Christchurch. Yeah. And his practice is based around that sort of attuning yourself to the healing energies. He uses light and vibration and all sorts of stuff.
That's right.
Really interesting.
And they can even sense the soul energy and that sort of thing with their methods of working and that sort of thing.
Which, tell you what, it's a busy practice.
Yeah, Brian Hale. Oh, yeah. Integrated Health.
Try to get an appointment there.
Barrington Street. Really busy practice. So whatever he's doing, him and his team,
it's making a positive difference for people.
People are voting with their feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes, I think that more and more people are looking for things that they can do themselves as well, and the meditation often brings them to this sort of concept that there's more to life than just the physical body.
Yep. We talked last program about the two separate platforms of religion and spirituality and science, but they are, as you said last program, Peter, rapidly coming together. Yeah. So there's some phenomenal research around the power of breathing. Okay,
yes.
So
and that's just one.
Yeah, you do a couple of inhalations, controlled inhalations. You can drop your heart rate. Yes. The research is so good that the organisation I work for is starting to introduce breathing into its wellness programs. So there's some research. I read a book many years ago titled "Why God Won't Go Away." Why God Won't Go Away, I think, and. Is that the title? Anyway, a guy called Newberg wrote it, and it was two scientists got together and did some research with the brain. They got Franciscan monks and Buddhist meditators in a lab, their brains all hooked up, got them meditating, got them in deep prayer, and parts of the brain lit up that only light up during deep prayer or deep meditation. Why God Won't Go Away was the name of the book. Yeah. And so there's all sorts of research. The research on meditation now is quite phenomenal. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi started research on meditation back in the 70s. Yeah. So that gap between science and religion, or science and spirituality, it's closing rapidly. Yeah. Have a look around. The research on the benefits of physical exercise, phenomenal. The research on meditation, amazing. The research on grounding. Have you been reading about if you go out barefoot onto the land, a beach or a grass, there's some sort of magnetic interaction between the human body,
definitely,
and the planet. So that science is rapidly getting closer to
that's right,
to spirituality.
are listening to Emergence News, and over to John. John, you've got a very interesting story from the May issue of Share International regarding a former American president and a four-degree initiate who we talk about on this program quite a bit, the Helena Roerich from Russia, who wrote the Agna Yogi.
Yeah, interesting. And a fourth-degree initiate, as you pointed out. The book is called The Secret World Government, Cosmic Guidance for the Leader. And it's a book review in the May 2025 Share International. It's written by Elisa Graf, actually, who does podcasts for the Share International, where she interviews members of Share International. So she's done a book review of this book, and her introduction is, as the world reels from the first few months of a new American presidency and its administration's headlong rush to implement an unjust and divisive agenda, it's hard not to lose faith in a hopeful future for humanity. Yet, as those familiar with the esoteric teachings given out in Alice A. Bailey and Benjamin Creme's books about the externalization of hierarchy know, crisis is often a catalyst for a breakdown of old structures, and destruction ever precedes the building of the new. Anyway, she's talking about a series of letters written from Helena Roerich to the president at the time, the US president at the time, Franklin D. Roosevelt. And the American president at that time, Franklin D. Roosevelt, was an initiate who, through his office, exhibited the qualities of vision, courage, and dedication to the greater good. Now, plus, at that 2.7, he's almost at the point of being ensouled.
That's right.
Right? So when you look at those points of evolution that Benjamin Creme has given out, you can see how expression in the external world matches the point of evolution. So politicians tend to be under about 1.5. Authors, writers, artists tend to be 1.5 to 1.7. Spiritual teachers tend to be starting around that too. And then you get into real movers and shakers globally that are that 3 to 4. Franklin D. Roosevelt, for to be a politician at 2.7 is actually quite phenomenal. I think Kennedy was
2.2.
Nigel 2.2.
2.2, yeah.
So, yeah, that's a really high initiation. Anyway, these letters, 1934, a close disciple of the Master Roya, Helena Roerich, was given the task of sharing the Master's guidance directly with Roosevelt. This took place through letters she wrote to him beginning in the autumn of that year. Now, this kind of didn't click for me until I went 1934. What's important about 1934?
It's between the wars, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's almost the start of World War II, right?
It's the rise of Nazism.
It's the rise of Nazism, right? Fascism, dictator, right? So, I mean, oh, this is interesting. Okay, anyway. So she wrote him some letters, and these were hand-delivered to the president by 2 of her close associates. And although Roosevelt knew nothing of the Himalayan Brotherhood, so he was an externally focused initiate, not an internally focused initiate, which would have to be in that political arena, right? A bit like Churchill. We've talked a lot about Churchill, who was a 3.3 maybe. 3 point.
About 3 anyway, but
yeah.
he had 3 Ray 1s in his makeup.
So he was completely focused on the external. So Elisa Graf goes on to tell us that Roerich wrote these letters between October 1934 and January 1936. And interestingly enough, the President, Roosevelt, accepted these and recognised them as inspired advice. And I guess you'd have to be an initiate to recognise that. Otherwise, you'd write it off.
Yes, you would start away, rubbish bin.
Yeah. So anyway, this was recently published in a book attributed to Roerich entitled, as I said earlier, The Secret World Government, Cosmic Guidance for the Leader. And original copies can be found in Franklin D. Roosevelt's President Library and Museum in Hyde Park, New York. So in the first letter written 10th of October 1934, this is what Roerich says. She shares her mission. At the austere hour when the entire world stands at the threshold of reconstruction and the fate of many countries is being weighed in the cosmic scales, I am writing to you from the Himalayan heights to offer you the highest help, the help of that source which since time immemorial stands on constant vigil, observing and directing the march of world events into saving channels. History of all times and all peoples bears witness to this help, which, concealed from public notoriety, is usually extended at the turning point in the history of countries. And I read that and thought, gee, there wouldn't be too many politicians on the planet today that if you sent a letter that kicked off with that would go in the bin really quickly, wouldn't it?
That's right, and they'd reach for the whiskey bottle, wouldn't they?
The confidence of someone to write that to the President of the United States of America is phenomenal, but she must have known
that he would
she
be
must have known that he would be
chance.
receptive.
Yeah, there would be a good
because
chance.
As a fourth degree initiate, she worked with Moira. She knew he was a master. She was a deliberate disciple, right? So he's saying, send this guy the letter. I guess she's going to go, okay, So she's going to have a whole lot of faith and trust. And I guess as a fourth degree initiate, you're not too worried. Things don't frighten you quite as much as they frighten us. Anyway, that's an interesting kick-off. She goes on to say, saying that the destiny of the country is in his hands, Roerich tells Roosevelt it is still up to him to accept or reject the great messages. So once again, there's that free will.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
From the same one source. She goes on to say, America has reached the boundary of the turning point in her history. Precisely, America can reach her great significance and peaceful boundary. You, Mr. President, have realised that with the outlived measures which have reduced the world to its present state of destruction, it is impossible to build the welfare and the future of the country. So she starts to compliment him on his courage and his constructiveness. And she now calls him, you can not only be the ruler, but the true great leader. And the other thing that she gives him a couple of hints, and she goes on to say she imparts verbatim the message she has been entrusted to share with him. The advice covers many topics. The need to maintain a vigilant resistance to being drawn into war. I found that very interesting. With hints that this provocation would come from the East. How did America get drawn into World War II? Pearl Harbor. Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, right?
How prophetic.
This is 1934 to 36, right? There is a suggestion to maintain military strength despite public opposition, asserting that a formidable defence can successfully deter aggression. That's an interesting concept to come from the master.
Sure is.
Warnings are given highlighting the American Midwest vulnerability to wheat crop failings, urging proactive grain storage and expanded cultivation in northern and eastern regions. Further letters speak of the need for Roosevelt to help form a Pan-American relationship, uniting the countries of North and South America. Also imparted is the fact that America has since long ago had a link with Asia, as well as information that Russia is the equibalence of America, and only with such a construction will the world peace become solved. I want to finish with all of those Race 6 listeners out there. You want things to change tomorrow, you want things to change extremely fast, and you want change to happen all at once. Here's what a 4th degree initiate says, and here's what the masters say about change. Change must proceed in an orderly fashion or chaos will result. Always our aim is the achievement of ordered change with the minimum of cleavage. Look, therefore, for one hand in world events and judge them wisely. Must that takes place in fashion by us. I'm just going to read that again. Much that takes place is fashioned by us and must eventuate in a better world. When you see us, you will know that this world is in safekeeping. And that is the problem with the fanatic. You want things to change now and go from 1 to 100 quickly. It is not the way to get change.